I reminisce.
What's up, everybody? We're back with another reaction video, and this time I'll be reacting to the Russian state spends $10 million to make the worst RPG of 2024 by Warlockracy. For some reason, my brain wanted to say rancid. Warlock rants. But this was a request, so just gonna get right into it. I've been trying to get my I bought this cordless microphone a long time ago, and it picks up my voice actually really clearly, but not when it's on my shirt, so I gotta hold it, and it's one of those circle ones, so I have to hold it like this, like to my face. Something told me to get one of the rectangular ones. They're easy to hold, but I don't know why I don't need it. I got this. Plus I don't have the other mic because it went out like a while ago. That's why I bought this one. I forgot. I got this one because that one went out after like a year of having it. So, but anyway, let's get into this. Y'all didn't click on the video, listen to all that shit. Alright, here we
Foreign megacorporations like the Polish CD Projekt Red, the creators of the Witcher games, and the Czech Warhorse Studios are corrupting our children's minds. They are promoting liberalist agenda and probably Russophobia as well. Well, not on my watch. All that is necessary for evil to succeed is for good men to do nothing. I am putting together a team. Siberia Nova, a game developer from the town of Uyar, Russia, never actually made a video game, but at least one of their employees worked on the 1998 CRPG classic Rage of Mages. That's good enough for me. The plot of our anti-Russophobic game will be based on the book Yuri Miroslavsky, or Russians in 1612. Authored by Mikhail Zagorskin, the book is described as Russia's first historical novel of the Walter Scott type. It was first published around 200 years ago. The hero of the novel and of the game,
don't look bad.
Yuri Miroslavsky,
is
a boyar, a member of feudal nobility, just a tier below prince. Zagorskin was criticized for not being a trained historian, so we need a proper historical consultant on our team. Enter Timofey Shevyakov, former editor-in-chief of the anti-NATO news agency and the author of the book Chronicles of the Information War. Shevyakov is associated with the pro-government hacker group Hell's Brigade, famous for feuding with the Russian opposition figure Alexei Navalny. So who is Hell the hacker? Let's see. According to prosecution witnesses, listed as unemployed in Germany, eventually getting a job in technical support, fired for watching porn at work. The brilliant hacker managed to infect the office network with porn site viruses. Everything about this is perfect. We have our team, and we have a story. But video game production ain't free.
Well, what's wrong watching little porn at work? Just relieving a little stress.
Is to funnel government rubles into online projects. Alexei Gorislavsky, the person in charge, said that the gaming projects the institute supports could potentially replace imported foreign analogs within 3 to 5 years. It doesn't seem Gorislavsky knows much about video game production. Bad news for the taxpayers, good news for us. The budget of our game, Smuta, or Troubles, is estimated to be around $5 million by some sources, $10 million by others. So what does this buy you in Uyar, Siberia? 75 developers on staff and 50 temporary contractors working remotely. Quick Googling tells me that the budget of the Polish Russophobia game Witcher 3 was $81 million. And as you can see, despite the weight class difference, Smuta borrows heavily from the Polish franchise, or at least it tries to. The Line Media says that the game is designed to be an instrument of Russian soft power. But this is not even available in foreign languages yet. You probably can't play this, but that's what I'm here for.
Exactly. I just watch you play it. I never have to touch it.
This video is dedicated
Who
to
the
Oleg
hell is this
Bilibin,
dude?
the director of Siberia Nova, cowardly killed by the neo-Nazis from the illegal Belaozersk volunteer battalion under orders from their CIA handlers. And yet, the liberal establishment prefers to remain silent about it, once again, showing the hypocrisy of the West. Bilibin might be gone, but the great work continues. Old-timers say that never before it has been as bad on our land as during the troubled times. The old Tsar died. There was a bad harvest. Poles and Cossacks invade. Boyars feud with one another. Out of desperation, the nobles in Moscow invited the Polish Prince Vladislav to rule over them and restore order. This is year 7 of the Troubles. In the game's opening, our hero Yuri,
it's like everybody, anytime there's some type of famine going on in the country, they just call it the Troubles.
Friend, the free Cossack Kirsha from Wild Animals. The game uses loading screens to feed you historical trivia, usually relevant to whatever is happening in the level. This is how we know that the Tsardom of Muscovy had no roads, that the depths of the ancient forests were still unexplored, and that animal attacks really were a huge problem. Now, I'm not a trained historian, but I've been to quite a few Russian museums, and these interiors look authentic to me. Unfortunately, none of the objects here are interactive. You can't even sit on a bench. Kirsha wants us to do a sword fighting tutorial.
The gameplay.
There are light attacks, power attacks, you can block and dodge. I won every single battle in this game by spamming left click and occasionally using the one cooldown based ability Yuri has. This is a linear game, a bunch of levels that need to be completed in a sequence. The next place we'll visit is our former home, a settlement governed by the Boyar Kruchina. And this is the RPG system. You gain levels and unlock these slots, and then you put collectible items into the slots for minor bonuses. It's a strangely gamey system for a project with a historical theme. Sneaking is a mechanic. There is a side quest where we eavesdrop on the local holops. A holop is a non-free citizen, property of a boyar, a tier below.
Okay, I was wondering, so those faces
is not a holop, and neither is Yuri. Our boss Kruchina sends us on an important mission. Many Muscovite nobles
I don't want to be like they all look the same.
Vladislav, but some individuals, like Prince Pozharsky from Nizhny Novgorod, simply refuse to calm down. They are building an army. Our task is to travel to Novgorod, infiltrate Pozharsky's militia, and find out what they're up to. This is beautiful. Someone should make an RPG in this setting. So it turns out it's impossible to create a AAA game on a budget this small. The developers had to cut corners. This huge-ass city has a total of 4 interactive objects. The drinking pots. You drink water to replenish HP. That's it. There is nothing else. You can't even talk to the merchants. My theory is that Smuta was designed in this very specific way to get past the government auditor. When Gorislavsky sends someone to check on what is that exactly they are doing with the Institute money, the devs will show them the beautiful locations, the 2D art, the work of professional voice actors. And not knowing any RPG theory, the auditor will be satisfied. Truly is beautiful, the medium of RPG. We keep inventing new ideas. In this case, a new way of appropriating government funds. Only a small part of the city is explorable. Approaching the gate teleports us to the main square, where we get to listen to a political speech.
Help fund this.
It sounds like the actor was recording in a room with bad acoustics. Yuri clearly sympathizes with the rebels, but at this stage he's still loyal to the Polish prince.
You better be making progress.
The Novgorod content is the series of some of the most boring fetch quests I've ever experienced in my life. Talk to a person, run somewhere, talk to another person.
It'd be like getting a student loan and the people who gave you the loan come to check on you in college to make sure you're going to classes.
Is the problem of blow.
And you make a good progress.
40 words to tell a 20-word story. But what we have here is that the individual lines are succinct, but the characters take forever to get to the point. And after they do, they just don't stop talking.
So like a real
I imagine
conversation.
this was done to imitate the style of the book, and it didn't work. You can read text much faster than a voice actor can speak. According to an interview, the developers intentionally made the clothing more vibrant than it was historically, an artistic choice, so that the game is more visually interesting. And here is a politically controversial quest. The rebel army employs foreign mercenaries as engineers and cannoneers, but some of these foreigners are disrespectful towards the locals, and frankly, they should be taught a lesson. But we don't want to seem inhospitable, so we need to provoke them into attacking us first. I've always wanted to ask, is it true that your women are not actually women, but men dressed in women's clothing? And then they say that when no one is looking, one of you bends over in front of the other, like a woman. You are dirt. I'll make you a woman. Perhaps I'm being unreasonably charitable, but I can't tell if the game is making fun of traditional values or promoting them. This Nobel Prize-winning publication seems to imply it's the latter. But then, in the very next mission, our protagonist is shown to be absolutely pussy-whipped by a very liberated-looking Polish woman. Help me read the themes on display. An interesting side note, my colleague, a fellow patriot and voyeur, Big Floppa Z, recently published a peer-reviewed paper, and it seems, based on the accounts of foreign travelers, homosexuality was near ubiquitous among all social classes in Muscovy. The implications of this are staggering. The Anglo-Saxons have been homosexing Russians for centuries. In the next area, I was struck by a realization that all dialogue in this game is redundant. Smuta is extremely quest compass dominant. It doesn't actually matter what the characters say, you just follow the compass, get to a location, fight bad guys, or click on an object. After doing this for about 2 hours, we get to meet Prince Pozharsky, a Russian national hero, one of the more famous ones. Pozharsky is in every history book. A little later, in the rebel war camp, Yuri has a conversation with Kuzma Minin, another important historical figure. Minin and Pozharsky are the Russian Chip and Dale of the Troubles. We can't customize our appearance in Smuta, but we can change our character class.
I don't know why.
This game is called Image.
When you put out that gun, I was like, wait, what? And I was like, okay. I was kind of confused because the way they dressed, I'm like, oh, this is like medieval times.
We have just unlocked the Strelets image. The Streltsy are Muscovite firearm infantry, armed with a rifle type of a weapon and a bardish. They also served as cops and firemen. Hanged Man's Tree. This game wants to be Witcher 3 so bad. That's what you'd say if you're an ignorant Russophober. A loading screen helpfully tells us that trees with hanging people were not uncommon. And in fact, they predate Christmas trees. Another feature stolen by the Polish CD Projekt Red was the Yuri Vision, which in their game is called Witcher Vision. It's not used often in this. The levels are huge, but since there are more or less free of interactive objects, there is little reason to explore them. But the game is capable of creating unintentional oblivion-esque comedy. The woman is
people like that's immersion breaking. This immersion breaking not being able to get through a fucking opening because of an NPC.
The cow is just mooing. So how good is the stealth system? It's okay. This is the closest thing this game has to engaging gameplay. The enemies seem to respect the shadow, and there is a generous delay in their reactions. Boyar from Uyar.
Okay.
So there are boss fights. I have no idea what the point of this is supposed to be. He is stun locked just as easily as everyone else. You have to click him like 6 extra times. That's the difference between a boss and a normal enemy. Finally, after hours of fetch questing, Yuri returns to his home village to report to the Boyar Kruchina. Same location, different season. Obviously, Smuta is not a good product, but it is a good idea, you know. Video games can be great cultural ambassadors, and they have a proven history of positive cultural change. Here is a story for you. Back in the early 2000s, a buddy of mine from Magnitogorsk was working on an early indie CRPG project called Wasteland Wolf. But when they tried introducing their game to a foreign audience, on the Black Isle official forums no less, they very quickly encountered a problem. The problem's name was Adolf Hitler. Back then, the Anglophone online culture was dominated by Gen Xers and older millennials. For many of these individuals, Wasteland Wolf was a first contact situation. They have never seen a cultural product from this part of the world before. The idea of a Fallout-like RPG originating from the ex-USSR space was wild, unnatural. They didn't know how to process it, no frame of reference. This created conflict, posting conflict, the worst kind. Well, I've been told that Russians defeated Hitler, have they not? Perhaps we should ask them for advice. Russian discourse used to be very different from Western, because it wasn't about the right versus the left. Instead, it was about the cops versus the dorks. The cop faction had all the power, but the dork faction had all the brains. You will never defeat our ideas, piggy. Unfortunately, the ideas in question were reverse tankyism and veteran privilege, which is a notion that society pays way too much attention to World War II vets. Needless to say, for our purposes, none of this was helpful or in any way material. The Hitler problem existed because of the lack of exposure. And exposure, through the medium of video games, is what ended up solving it. The Ukrainian Stalker was published in 2007. It was followed by Metro 2033, developed by a different Ukrainian studio, published in 2010. That game was based on a book by the Russian author Dmitry Gluchovsky. I can only speak for myself and for the communities I was active in, but for me, there was a world before Stalker and the world after. This is how we stopped being foreign, and how Adolf Hitler was banished back to Avernus.
So you can have the cultural games from crossing over to another culture. Just make sure there's a lot of shooting involved if you're trying to bring it over to the west.
By deal, I mean instigate.
Probably also taking games over there to the
Ivan
east too.
Zarutsky is another important historical figure, a leader
Guns,
of the Don
universal
Cossacks.
language, I
Previously, he served False Dmitry II, the impostor on the throne. Pozharsky wants to convince him to join us, but it doesn't look like it's working out. Let's try out a new class. This is the Courtier image. This version of Yuri wields expensive-looking weapons that have very short range. Later I learned that the Courtier class is supposed to be a reward for finishing the story, but in my Uyar Patriot
in the city
edition,
also, you
it
see
was
a random dog
unlocked.
barking
The biggest problem in
late at
Yaroslavl are our Tatar allies, who are a little too powerful and independent. Yuri helps the Tatars in one mission and then stabs them in the back in the next. Vampire Bloodlines fans might be pleased to know that Smuta also has that bug where clothing gets stuck in your character's ass. This really made me feel at home. The main quest
That's the
wants us
only
to work
animation
with
he has
Zarutsky
for
in
stealth
order to
kills.
undermine the rebels. The protagonist is incapable of saying no. Suck my dick,
Could at least
Pozharsky, Vladislav
do
Liberator.
a stab in
As
the
a
ass
reward,
something.
Zarutsky unlocks the mercenary image, a Western European warrior type, armed with a musket and a halberd. Yuri says a few words in German to make this feel authentic. Halberd has extra range over a bardish. After taking out a small army of Russians,
they got a lot of
Yuri suddenly
variation
decides
as far as
he
like
hates
the
murdering
weapons.
people for Zarutsky and threatens to kill the Ataman the next time
They could have just had
I have
everyone
no
with a
idea
sword
what
and everyone
Yuri
doing the
truly
same
believes in. This
sword
man is a
animations.
psychopath.
Whoa.
If you are trying to be a secret agent, you should probably dress to fit in with the locals. You know what? I should take my own advice. Irena, if this is her real name, it isn't, sends us on a sneaking mission to a war camp we've already cleared for Zarutsky.
Или ты с девицами?
Are you always this quick with women? After insulting our manhood, she makes us visit the same camp for the third time.
That's just how she
This game
flirts.
is mocking me. The traveling theme is quite good in this. Marina Mniszek was a Polish noblewoman and, until recently, the Queen of Russia, having married False Dmitry I, and then when he was killed, she remarried False Dmitry II. Her ambition is to convert Russia to Catholicism. Previously, the game showed us the Muscovite nationalist point of view, and now we are being introduced to the Catholic opposition. Smuta defenders claim that the game's critics exaggerate its supposed mechanical simplicity. Upon further examination, there are actually all kinds of advanced mechanics, like you can throw rocks to distract bad guys. Russophobers caught lying again. Alas, a tragedy strikes. Yuri's closest friend was killed during an assassination attempt on Pozharsky. We can't keep working for both factions. Pozharsky himself comes to our tent. He knows everything, but Yuri is clearly too stupid to be held accountable for his actions. The rebel leaders send us on a quest to find a local holy man to get him to bless the war effort. I think they just want to get rid of us. The elder lives in the depths of an ancient forest where no man has gone before. That's what the loading screen says. Clearly not true, since there are poles here. They say they're on their way to rendezvous with the army of King Sigismund near Smolensk.
Which
that was 3 years ago.
Nationality these people are, because I'm like
thinking about retiring from politics.
Now they all rush into me.
Just buying property here in the forest. We'll be needing a lot of vitamin D supplements, though. Oh my god, Smuta is getting good. This is the alternative future Yuri, who speaks with a slight accent and is Catholic. The two Yuris debate politics.
Yeah, that's what happens when you become Catholic.
The Knight actually makes some material arguments. He says that all Muscovites, even the boyars, are ultimately slaves to the Tsar. In comparison, the Polish Szlachta have a lot more rights. There is a fun third dimension to this conversation. We are from the future for real. We know what will happen to the ideas of Minin and Pozharsky in 400 years. Indeed, they have evolved into something else. Those of you who are online, that is most of you, might be familiar with an Afrocentrist ideology called Hotepism. It's about seeing ancient Egypt as a source of black pride. What you didn't know is that the Muscovites have been cooking their own versions of Hotepism for decades now. The most popular of them is the Hotep of Communism, which is about Russians rewriting history to attribute all Soviet accomplishments to themselves. We Russians defeated Hitler, which is true, but, you know, the Ukrainian and Belarusian per capita contributions were even higher. We Russians are the pioneers of space exploration. Also true, even though the lead Soviet spacecraft engineer was from Zhytomyr. You get the idea. Among millennials and Gen Xers, there is another popular Hotep, the Hotep of Crackers. Imagine that you were born during the last years of the Iron Curtain. The Soviet lifestyle is discredited. Young people are eager to return to the European family. The problem is that very few of them have actually met a Westerner before, so their idea of Europeans was based on what they read in Soviet textbooks and what they absorbed through pop culture. Russians who subscribe to this ideology see world politics as Vampire the Masquerade IRL. The world is ruled by ancient European families, with the English royal family being the most powerful of them. The funny thing about this brand of Hotepism is that these individuals sometimes take liberal or progressive positions, but not because they believe in egalitarianism, but rather because they see it as a way of communicating their Europeanness. And of course, there are Muscovite conservative philosophers, such as Yegor fucked his daughter, showcasing the national costume. Now, what is Yegor famous for? Actually, it's kind of hard to tell. He believes that in the ancient past, people lived for 900 years. His philosophical system can be described as a bootleg version of Plato's theory of forms. The idea of Russianness was sent to us by God, and questioning this is a Westoid behavior and possibly Russophobia as well. We must construct additional Russia todays. Fucked his daughter labored on these ideas for 3 decades. He is working with a production crew allegedly paid for by the very same Internet Development Institute. And somehow, despite all that, his YouTube views are in the hundreds, sometimes low thousands. You thought Smuta was a waste of taxpayers' money. Yuri, you could have prevented this. We have failed. We will find another way. Releasing control. Enjoy being a holop to stinky old man forever. The rebel army is about to march on Moscow, but we have unfinished business elsewhere. Boyar Kruchina, our foster father, the schemer.
I like that
Yuri
whole
is
tip of
reunited with
crackers. I was
his
just thinking
friend,
about
the
that.
free Cossack Kirsha, the most Zaporizhian man to ever exist. Kirsha speaks with a very authentic Ukrainian accent. Our protagonist intends to solve the Kruchina problem by convincing the man to work with Pozharsky instead of the Poles. But the boyar makes convincing counter-arguments. The rebellion is a terrible idea. Things need to return to normal as soon as possible. The peasants didn't stockpile enough food. There is a risk of famine. And who will stop the Swedes when they invade again? And how are they planning on electing the new Tsar anyway? The boyars will be at each other's throats. Yuri will have plenty of time to come up with answers to these questions. No, Anastasia, don't give him the key to the jail cell. You will regret this.
Wait, when did he
This
get
scene made me like Kruchina a lot more. His plan to
put
tear
in
apart
jail?
the
He just
rebel
like in
army
jail.
involves forging correspondence, and it's very clever.
Did he
Yuri
mention it? Or
flees to
maybe
the
I
forest and eventually
just went over
finds
my head.
Kirsha's hidden encampment. This is how we unlock the final image. A shish is a Troubles-era peasant freedom fighter. This class has the most exotic weapon selection. We get a hand axe instead of a sword and a throwing axe instead of a pistol. The latter seems to have a shorter cooldown. The axes have extra brutal
Well,
fatality
you don't have to
animations.
reload it.
He's
Yeah,
dead,
I like the
Yuri.
axe way better.
The horse is summoned by pressing a key, and it's very useful for navigating the huge empty maps.
Yeah, let's
There
go,
is no
Roach.
mounted combat. If you're engaged, it just drops Yuri on the ground and runs away. The big
Just
idea for this
vanishes
chapter
into the
is
ether.
building up Kirsha's Shish militia force so that we can eventually strike at Boyar Kruchina's little Kremlin. Some
I like how
Polish
back in the day,
publications
like,
wrote about the
camouflage
game,
wasn't
voicing
really thought of.
concerns about anti-Polonism.
Like, depending
Having
on your
played this to
environment.
completion, I don't think there is anything to worry about.
People in the
Polish
forest
NPCs
wearing,
are
like,
very
bright red.
articulate, they are not portrayed as stupid, they are not caricatures, and for what it's worth, their costumes are some of the best looking in the game. And there is a fun scene where Yuri educates Kirsha, dispelling his ignorant beliefs. No, you silly, the Poles don't actually have dog heads. In fact, for a state-funded project, this story is interestingly open-minded. There have been 1, 2, 3 instances when the game debated the Muscovite ideas, and Yuri didn't seem to have much to say in their defense. That's strangely progressive. Suspiciously so. After the assassination of Oleg Bilibin at the Govnomaz Sergeya Vertushkina, the ownership of the Uyar-based studio was transferred to Alexei Koptsev. Who is Mr. Koptsev? Nobody knows. His not Facebook page has posts of liberal, anti-Putin, and Nazi-adjacent nature. What?
Anti-Putin?
The
Still
final
in
event
Russia?
of the chapter is the Shish attack on the Kruchina's
Yeah, man, it's
compound.
lucky.
The attack happens entirely within a cutscene. The gameplay bit is another sneaking mission that doesn't even seem to feature any enemies. Alas, the princess is in another castle.
was a
The
pointless
cutscenes in the
sneaking
game
mission.
are honestly well directed and strangely artistic. I think Yuri was supposed to say a badass one-liner, but the audio bugged out.
I would
The
like to
dramatic final
see
battle
them
has
get
us
like
facing
a
three
higher
sequential
budget.
groups of basic
See what they can
enemies.
do with it.
Very
They could
creative,
actually.
Mr. Koptsev. Onwards to the
think they could do a
penultimate
lot
chapter,
better.
the Moscow outskirts, the gathering of rebel armies. Kirsha finally gets to
Yeah,
meet
they try to make a
Pozharsky,
AAA
and
game
he's
with a
absolutely in love
double
with
A
the man.
budget.
Kirsha is such a runat and a maloros. In the previous 2 chapters, the game came dangerously close to being fun, so now we are back to endless boring fetch questing.
Only too much
Someone
fun.
trying to destroy the rebel army from the inside. This Santa Claus-looking motherfucker is our primary suspect. Yuri's job is to find proofs of his misdeeds, and naturally we do this by beating people up. People like the Alpha
I
Cossack
mean, it's a video
here.
game.
I don't get this
That's
combat
usually what you
system.
do.
Maybe it's because the courtier is an overpowered class, but as you can see, the Cossack never even exited the staggered state. This location is called Gulai Gorod, which is an East Slavic term for a mobile fortification made up of carts and boards. These were used with great success against steppe nomads. After enduring 2 hours of some of the most mind-numbingly boring gameplay invented by human civilization, we discover that Santa is innocent. The real spy is hanged. If you betray your country, your cause, your friends, what's the point of begging for mercy? Yeah, that's what we do with fascist Russophobes. Speaking of, this is a report published by the Medialogia project, a Russian automated media monitoring system. A week from the release of the game, the project monitored 240,000 social network posts about Smuta. 14,000 of them were positive, 87,000 were negative, and the rest neutral. Negative posts included words like fiasco, failure, trash, garbage, cringe, undercooked, boring, drawn out, inexpressive. The Medialogia analysts concluded that the comments must have been written using a template. Thus, we can confidently say that the project is being subjected to a large-scale attack. Attacked by whom? The 72nd Center of Information and Psychological Operations of the Ukrainian Navy is determined to be responsible for flooding social media with mean comments, mobilizing military assets for RPG criticism.
we are at a war with them, so they must be spending that time
but it is concerning. First,
to put negative comments on our game.
Indeed, dark clouds are gathering over the motherland. The Poles on the other side of the river have cannons.
What was it?
Well, how do we solve this problem? By following the quest compass and clicking on objects. The Poles are drafting peasants to work on their fortifications. Yuri automatically changes his image to a shish so that he can blend in with the locals. That's how we get inside the cannon base and set their gunpowder on fire. Go! No, we still have an hour of fetch questing ahead of us. The chapter villain is our old frenemy Ivan Zarutsky, the ataman of the Dawn host. You have betrayed the motherland, Yuri interrogates a Cossack traitor, and this guy is like, "Sir, I'm from Poland." If Ivan were to become Tsar,
sir,
he would
this
make
is Poland.
Everyone free, he says.
Well, I guess not. I tried to do that. Excuse me, sir, this is a Wendy's.
Like he's in charge of anything. Oh, damn it!
Oh, don't know. You can't kill her.
Imagine if Kojima
She's a
made
love
game
interest.
Like this.
Well, it'd be like a 2.5 hour cutscene at some
the rest
point.
of the boyar trash. Marina believes that a woman should be in charge of Russia because women are better at handling court intrigue. I don't think this is evidence-based. She is not scheming on behalf of the Polish-Lithuanian
I gotta defeat wokeness by smashing it with a mace.
God. What's funny is that Yuri still doesn't know her real name. Irena, or whoever you are, freedom is your punishment.
So I'm gonna let you live.
You will regret not killing me,
Ooh, she
Boyar
looked evil right
Miroslavsky.
there.
Marina will regret it a lot more, in fact. It's a very dark story. Welcome to the end game. The rebel army surrounded the Poles in Moscow. An urban level finally. The White Stone Fortress is not the same Kremlin that exists today. This is its previous incarnation. The besieged Poles are trying to break through,
like
but our biggest enemy is the
straight
frame rate.
death. Just leave the bodies up just so there's a warning to other people. Like, yeah, but it stinks.
Lampposts, parts of the city still manage to function normally. This Cossack is a Charakternik, which is a type of a Cossack sorcerer, healer, and teacher. In some ways, a Zaporizhian version of Asian martial arts master. Charakterniks can catch bullets with their hands and throw them back at their enemies. They place sorcerers
I'm sure that's not
on their guns. They walk on water and fire, turn invisible. They can see the future and control the weather. In the game, this is possibly the only opponent who dual wields weapons. Our protagonist teams up with Insane Clown Posse to rob a rich man's house. How does this help us defeat the Poles? What? The Poles? Yuri, you moron, you were supposed to destroy the Russians, not join them. But from my point of view, it's the Catholics who are evil. A strong opening from Kruchina with a kick in the balls. He can summon whole-up allies, that's new. But ultimately the combat system is incapable of challenging the player. Kruchina is stun-locked and defeated just as easily as the very first opponent in the game.
And he's not killing anybody.
The nuclear apocalypse color filter.
I mean, in
nature's
like
way
actual
of telling
in
us
story,
that the
like as
final battle is
cutscenes.
about to begin.
In gameplay, yeah, he's killing tons of people.
Navigating open-air corridors and fighting groups of 4 enemies. But somehow the Poles are winning. And when all hope is lost, Irsha the Cossack arrives with reinforcements. A brotherly people's moment. Go!
Let's yell to make sure they know that we're coming.
This was Smuta, or Troubles, a state-funded video game. 20 hours of filler, 20 minutes of fun cutscenes. Is this political propaganda? Virtually everyone in the story has better politics than Yuri and his rebel friends. Zarutsky the Cossack promised to make everyone free. Kruchina wanted to keep people from starving. The Demon Knight didn't want to be a slave. The only truly smart character is a Polish noblewoman. Well, no, maybe not the only one. When we meet her in Moscow, Anastasia says that she will mastermind her own escape, and that we should take it easy, because the purpose of a boyar's head is to wear a hat. Is this traditional values? Is this game a tool of government influence? Of the Polish government, maybe? Is it a corruption scheme? A scheme to redistribute government money to a bunch of graphic artists and voice actors, perhaps? Is Smuta subversive? Is it secretly clever? No. And then we have ending slides, just like in Fallout. Yuri's relationship with Nastya eventually broke down. I probably picked the wrong dialogue option at some point. In any case, I consider this to be a good outcome. Having won the power struggle, the philosophers of the faction kept inventing new types of right-wing idpol. But nothing they came up with was even remotely as successful as the hotep of communism. With its invention, the system of Muscovite idealism was complete. Nothing else needed to be done. Dmitry Gluchovsky, the author of Metro books, betrayed his dork brethren by making things people actually liked. For his crimes, he was cancelled, exiled from Discord, and blocked on Twitter. And then there was the mysterious stranger hiding behind a mask. Nobody knew his true identity. Just like everyone else, having never played Smuta, the masked patriot mistakenly believed that the game was political propaganda. But instead of opposing it, he wrote in its support. In this article, he reveals a connection between the Russian developer Oddmeter and the Polish 11-bit studio, who conspired to launch a media attack on the game. This is 1612 all over again.
Yeah, it can't be because the game is actually
Many questions remain unanswered. Who ordered the assassination of Bilibin? What truly happened at the Govnomass that fateful night? Who is Mr. Koptsev? Is there any truth to the rumors? Is he the long-lost great-great-great-great-great-grandson of the Polish Prince Vladislav? Our Patreon-supported think tank will keep monitoring the situation. Patron credits, and then we'll see if it's possible to salvage this. These videos are bankrolled by the Association of Voyenkors of the Uyarian Spring, including Jim Lawrence, Arkelis, a 2-room apartment in Bobruisk, Belarus, Snafu, Ganso Bomber Motherfucker, Serpin, Azazel and Baneful the Doggo, Ray Ners, Tony Spagani, Danny Kilpatrick, Eric Luitkehans, Dark Butt Pumpkin, Frog, Source is the best engine ever made, Billy Strayhorn, Mopo, C6, I Feed My Parrot Chicken, 1967 Ford Mustang, Dmitry Yu, Ilya Rubin, Yuri Solodovnichenko, Buck Swope, and Maciej B. So, what went wrong? Elementary, dear Boris. You didn't hire an RPG theorist. Every serious corporation employs at least one.
Yeah, you didn't hire
Boeing, McDonald's. It's just basic stuff.
Sweet Baby
Frankly,
Inc.
not employing a monocled RPG theorist is an extremely unwashed Moscow
Or you did
behavior,
hire
Mr.
them,
Gorislavsky.
and that's what's wrong, because
sure,
it's woke
our
now.
services do not come cheap, but a petrostate can probably afford it, and you'll be saving money in the long term. I don't even need to see a prototype to tell you that this dialogue style will not work for a fully fully voiced RPG. A theorist could have told you that this should have been a top-down game. The budget of Witcher 3 was $81 million. The budget of Pillars of Eternity was $4.4 million. And that thing was made in California.
Budget was way higher
Top-down
than
is
that.
cheap, and if done right, it's just
That
as
was like
pretty.
100.
Of course, these sorts of games
Not just
much smaller
that's not way
audiences,
higher,
and
like
presumably we are
150
making
million.
a game for the people, not just for enthusiasts. So this is why Smuta should have been a top-down Diablo-style clicker. For our purposes, it's a perfect genre, accessible, engaging, popular. Historical theming
that might
is an
actually
excellent fit
fit
for
it
this
better.
type of a game. You are not just clicking on monsters to make the number go up. You are clicking on monsters to make the number go up, and you are learning about history. But that's an idea for Smuta 2 Electric Boogaloo.
There's one way
What
to
they
get
should
people
do
to learn
with this
about
game
history.
Is A, make all the assets free to use for anyone under a very flexible license. I know some Neverwinter modders who would love some of this stuff. And B, there is no B. Forget about this game. Give me money on Patreon. See you in a few weeks.
Ну что?
You're fired. That's what he said. They're like, what? Oh, I thought I was about to say. I thought this stopped recording. Because the thing was messing up earlier. Like it didn't want to. Saying like it didn't want to record, and the camera was messing up, and stopped recording, pissing me off. But okay, they want this game to be good. They gotta remake it. You gotta put vampires in it, werewolves in it, giant trolls, and orcs. Then you sell it. Turn the main character, I forgot his name already, turn him into a hunter of monsters. He like goes through like some type of trial that changes him into a more efficient hunter. They be like, is he? And he questions if he's still actually human or not, while he goes on quests to hunt monsters and also do favors and may kill a few humans now here and there. And then you have a good game. Anyway, hope you enjoyed my reaction. And if you did, make sure you hit that thumbs up button down below. Make sure to subscribe if you're new here. Hit that bell if you want to be notified when I upload new videos. Comment down below. Share this video. I'll see y'all next time. Peace.